Movie that does come out not in 2002 but this weekend is Hobbs and Shaw. Hobbs and Shaw. It is the spin-off to Fast and Furious, and Hobbs played by The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and then Shaw, who is Jason Statham. Jason Statham appeared in one of the post-credit scenes of Fast and the Furious as the villain, and then it turned out he was kind of like an anti-hero, and now him and Hobbs and Shaw have to work together to fight Idris Elba, who is this big bad now, who it's almost like he's almost like the Terminator. But this movie, first of all, for everybody to know, it is a big, fun cartoon. That is, you have to go into this and I know Fast and Furious has been getting away from this in the first place. Like you have to know that. Not getting away from it, leaning into it. That this movie, you can never look. Oh, that's not realistic. If you do that, you're out. You're out. This movie it's like a superhero. It's a sci-fi movie, by the way. This is a science fiction movie, which is crazy. It's a full-on sci-fi film with a kind of superhero element to it.
Go on.
And it mixes it with Lethal Weapon. And it is a throwback. It is a throwback to like 90s action films. The Rock and Jason Statham have incredible chemistry. And I don't mind it, but they beat you over the head with it. These guys just don't get along, right? And I was so like every single reference that they'd go back and forth because there's one moment like an interrogation thing where they're both insulting each other. It's hysterical.
Yeah, I agree. I love this kind of movie because I know exactly what it's going to be, and then it just does that, and it was so fun. And
it doesn't try to pretend to be anything except what
else,
it is. Yeah.
And it painted itself exactly how it played out, and it was funny and some great action sequences and ridiculous. Yeah. Vanessa Kirby, I think, is a great addition. I love her.
Vanessa Kirby.
You know what? You're not allowed to talk about Vanessa Kirby until you start to like The Crown.
I don't like The Crown.
So Vanessa Kirby plays Statham's sister.
And I don't like Claire Foy very much.
Oh, well, Vanessa Kirby.
I like her fine in The Crown. I don't like her in First Man. Vanessa Kirby, I do like.
Right, Vanessa Kirby, who plays Statham's sister. And Vanessa Kirby was first time I noticed her was not The Crown.
It's by Claire Foy.
Was Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
And she's
a star.
She is a superstar, and she, to me, has the same type of performance in this movie that Rebecca Ferguson had in that Mission Impossible movie, to where she's a standout. Because when you have The Rock and Statham, who are the big stars, and they're going back and forth with each other, it's like you got to fight to keep up with those.
She
two,
can
right?
more than hang.
More than hang, and she's an action star. She really is.
What did you think about? Because I'll paint it this way. For me, watching this, I thought about all the thing that Idris Elba's name has almost been attached to, and how badly I want him to be a Batman or a Bond or something in that realm. How did you feel about him in a cat?
Yeah.
Sorry, he's in Cats.
Okay.
Next time we'll do the review by ourselves.
Is this how you feel all the time?
All the time.
Okay, great.
Sorry about that.
So you get it now?
I'm with you, yeah. I feel it. It's a little frustrating, but I'm still on their team.
Good. I'm glad lesson learned.
Yeah.
Get
back on point. It's not easy, right?
So how do you feel about that? Do you feel like he should be going for movies like that based on this performance?
Yes, because you know what I think he did excellent in this role was that he embraced that tone. It was this. You still take him very seriously because he's the villain, but he's still having a lot of fun playing this just outrageous villain. When you look at the trailer, like, what does he have, superpowers now? Because that's what I was worried about. But they explain it why it's like a Terminator type thing. To what
it's like Doc Ock, right?
Something like that.
Winter Soldier.
It's
a lot of people
more
made
like
that.
what could be in 20 years from now, in 40 years from now.
And that was the crazy thing, though, too, because when you look at movies in like the 70s and 80s when they had this crazy stuff happening in the future, you're like, well, that kind of technology is nowhere near. The scary shit about a lot of this stuff, even though as far-fetched as it is, you're like, with the way that science
Siri
works,
and Alexa. Sorry to just make your phones freak out.
But all of that stuff, when I was like, man, I liked that premise that this is what they were fighting against, because Hobbs is this powerful dude, but he can't hang with this guy because of the machine power. And Shaw, who's also, he's not necessarily brute strength, but he's using
smart.
He has problems because the relationship that between with his sister and everything else too. It's great.
Something I loved about this as well was learning more about Hobbs and Shaw and their history, their separate histories, and I thought that honestly, in movies like this, usually I don't need that kind of background, but for this, it made me care more about their characters, and I thought they did a great job balancing that.
Can you compare this to Fast and the Furious movies?
No, that's kind of what I liked about it. I kind of there's references to a few. There's a lot of fun cameos in this movie.
Really fun ones that I had no idea about.
Good trailer work then.
Great trailer work because no, there hasn't been any spoilers for it yet, and when it hits you hard. Some of these cameos,
awesome.
and it works really well.
One of them legitimately startled me.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. but it wasn't just both cameos, not cameos that are just thrown in there because.
Yeah.
It fits the plot. Both of them fit the plot, and it works. And it's.
Were you surprised they were able to get any of the people they got?
No.
How
Not at
cool
all.
is it when they go to Hawaii for like the Maori?
I don't think it's Hawaii though. Oh yeah, they do shoot in Hawaii, I guess, because it's Samoa.
Samoa.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
It's awesome. And Roman Reigns is in it.
But how? I will say,
his
I
hair wet
believe
the whole
that
time?
Roman Reigns was incredibly underutilized.
He was, but this is.
But it was fine.
I think that it was Dwayne Johnson kind of throwing him a bone to where it's his
I do-
cousin, and
I do too.
putting him-
It was interesting to me
Yeah.
because if you have Roman Reigns in that,
might not be an actor. This might be wrestling and
I'm wondering if things got cut.
maybe.
Yeah.
But I think his role wasn't set up to be anything except for what he did, and the
He's
way
just
that they
doing a ton of press.
yes, but because he's Roman Reigns, and
Yeah.
the stuff that they shot with him. It was a clear nod to the wrestling fans. There were things that happened inside of it that I went, if you're a wrestling fan, you're going to cheer.
Is Roman Reigns the guy that John Oliver made fun of because he gets like heckled everywhere he goes?
He was, but he's not anymore. And as part of it is because
Yes,
yes,
that's the person you're thinking of.
yes, but he was diagnosed with cancer, beat it, came back. Fans have been on his side since.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he's
I think slipped out of remission, then back into it.
that's exactly
again.
what happened. Yeah. But he's now he's back with the company.
and he's actually The Rock's cousin in real life.
Yes. Yeah, and so the Usos.
Yeah, and he looked in place here.
He
He
did.
was a beast.
Yeah, it's funny because he does a couple things. There's things that I was watching. I was like, and there were a few wrestling fans in the audience, and that there were people who were sitting next to me who were not. That there were references that happened that went right over people's heads
Interesting.
that he did, and I went, oh, that's cool that they did that. So
Interesting.
It was that's how they shine a light on him pretty big for the wrestling audience.
Was
When
there
they
like a lot
got-
of car stuff in it? No.
No,
Enough.
Yeah, enough.
Enough to be a Fast and
Franchise?
Furious
Yeah.
franchise film,
Yeah.
but not enough to call it Fast and Furious.
Was there
Exactly.
any
You
one
know?
point in it? I mean, I know you're saying it's a cartoon, but was there any one point when you were just like, come on?
No,
Okay,
because
No.
it's set up.
No, and if you're gonna feel that way, this isn't the movie
Right,
for you. Yeah.
because it sets it up from the beginning. From
Yeah.
the second the movie starts, like, oh, because the one thing is, if you set up a movie to where you're supposed to think everything's realistic, and then a scene like that happens, and like, so I'm gonna give you a spoiler on the Long Shot, the movie Long Shot that just came out. Okay, so if you haven't
With
seen
Charlize,
and
yeah.
Seth
Great movie.
Rogen, if you haven't seen the movie, then you should at least pause this part of it. So the beginning of that movie starts with Seth Rogen as he's undercover, and he's
KKK, right? Or
yeah, well,
Nazi?
No,
Nazis.
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 And so the tone of it is, okay, he's this reporter that takes seriously, there's some comedy involved, and then he jumps out of a window that clearly should kill him. And I'm like, oh, that's this kind of movie? That's weird.
But then it's not that
And then it's
kind
not
of movie.
for the rest of the movie. And I like the movie, but the rest of the movie is not like that. Then there's another scene where Charlize Theron throws somebody over her shoulders, and starts running down the hallway as slow motion bullets are coming in. I'm like,
They took creative liberties in there that didn't work for you.
there was a couple. Where
Well
this
said, Ross.
movie, when this movie starts,
Yeah.
it never changes.
Awesome.
It's out of control
Yeah, the whole
from
time.
A to B.
I'm so excited.
I also we met a new character in Samoa that I really liked.
Oh, yeah. I know who you're
I thought
talking
she
about.
was awesome.
Yeah.
Vanessa Kirby's sister.
No.
Yes.
But overall,
She was
this
really
movie
fun.
this movie's a lot of fun. If you're first of all, if you're a fan of the Fast and Furious franchise, it sticks to a lot of the over the top fun that you've grown accustomed to. If you're a Dwayne Johnson fan, he shines. He does a lot of rockisms, things that I've been waiting for him to do in movies since a lot of stuff that I was waiting for him to do since he debuted on the scene, stuff that he took from the WWE. Just the way he even insults back and forth with Shaw is reminiscent to me of how he used to be as a wrestler when he would go back and forth with Stone Cold and things that he would say in the ring. He brought that, and I hadn't seen him do that yet. And then between what him and Statham are doing together, it's amazing.
Yeah, I completely
Yeah.
agree. I will. My one thing would be, Josh, nothing happened that was crazy. I didn't believe like that it would fit in this world, but I think they could have cut about 10 minutes from the movie. There were some sequences that just were very lengthy. It wasn't like, what, this is out of place. It was just like, okay, I get what we're doing. Let's get to the next one.
I
That's
agree
how I
with
feel
that.
about musicals.
You thought the whole movie, though.
Right.
Right. You just don't want. You think the whole
Like,
movie.
I'm like, okay, I get the song, I'm done.
Right. Right.
Okay. Problem.
Okay.
Also, somebody's cracking somebody up out there.
I know. It's just some.
I can
serious
hear
love.
Cody really getting some giggles in there. Cody?
Happy birthday, Cody.
Yeah. What's going
Not
on?
me.
What happened?
I don't know. Someone's laughing out in the lobby right now.
Roca?
Got it.
What, Alex? We
I
don't
would-
have fun.
I would watch this movie all the time.
So when it
I would
comes
have
out
it
on like
play-
HBO Cinemax, whatever, I'm
Yeah.
going to be freaking out.
I would
for
literally
it, like,
watch
all the
it
time.
all of it.
It's
There's
just
no
fun.
time that I'd be like, I'm not in the mood to watch. It could play in the
Yes.
background all of the
No,
time.
you can tell they had a blast making the movie.
Yes,
And it was.
But I'm so surprised because remember, I did one Jason Statham junket once.
Yeah.
A little too serious for you.
He's very serious, self-proclaimed.
Ask your fucking questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very serious.
Yeah.
So
They play that in the personality.
But it's interesting because you can tell that him and The Rock are playing, and
Yeah.
The Rock is so fun. So,
Well,
I'm-
but that's a press thing. I don't
Okay.
think Statham's a big fan of the press. I don't think he likes
Okay.
to. I think that when he's working with people like The Rock, he's going to be, he's one
yeah,
of the boys.
I don't know him at all. I'm
Yeah,
just saying.
I think he's one of the.
it's
Like,
interesting.
my buddy Naveed, who is friends with Statham, and he's one of the boys, that type of thing. And I think that he just likes to do the work. And I think that it's funny they play off their real personalities in this movie. I think too, because the opening of the movie, I love the way that it was shot. I love the way it was shot. Like
Yeah.
the very opening of it, it's very creative.
Me
and
too.
different.
Me too. Because it just
Yeah, it sets it up.
yeah.
It sets it up perfectly.
Yeah,
I'm
I
so
thought that was
excited.
great.
Oh man, I'm
Yeah.
so excited.
and a strong directorial choice.
Yeah, there were some times with I think the director did a great
A
job.
lot of close-ups,
There were a lot of closes, so much. A lot of it felt like a music video at times.
which it fits for
It
this
fits
kind
for this
of movie.
for this thing. I think that I was walking out with somebody last. There was 3 people, and I heard we just got into a conversation about it, and they were talking about because the same director I think he did John Wick, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like it's just so different from the style for what John Wick was doing, and it's a little just too over the top for me. And I was like, yeah, but that's what they were going for in this movie.
That's why
It's
he was
like-
hired.
That's why he was hired. Like it's like he wasn't hired to do John Wick because that's not what this tone was. Stuber had a bit of John Wick more so than this did, right? But this is.
I liked that. Too.
I liked Stuber, yeah, but this movie was supposed to be like a '90s blockbuster, over-the-top action movie.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I feel like there is a 0% possibility that Josh does not love
Oh, he'll
this.
love it.
Like literally, I would
Yeah,
say
yeah.
0%
Oh,
possibility.
yeah, you'll love it.
You're
I'm,
gonna
I'm so
It's
excited.
everything you want it to be.
Yeah.
It's over-the-top, ridiculous, great chemistry, fun jokes,
Yeah,
asinine, fun sci-fi plots, and
slightly raunchy at times.
yeah.
It's, you guys are like describing
yeah,
everything I like.
and some really good comedy.
Yeah.
Some
Boom.
really good comedy. There's a scene at the diner that I'll say is really funny.
The plane for me.
Yeah.
I loved.
this is my return of the king.
You're gonna love this. You're gonna love this. Anyway, so you guys, I'm very curious
wants a show.
were you excited about this movie? Do you want to see this movie? Do you care about this movie? And if you're ready, and after you come back, after you've seen it, come back to this review because we're gonna piece this out on the channel. So make sure that you comment, do everything that you would do when watching a video, and click it
Like, comment,
comment,
subscribe,
yeah, all of it, and
say really nice things about us.
say some nice things.